fantastic. I love it. Plus, you know, it's all this, every single thing can be edited.
Yeah.
It just takes forever, but that's part of the process, you know. Kim, welcome.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you for having me.
Hey, it seems the hot topic is the liver cleanses that you've been involved in for the last 15 years or so. Can you give me a little bit of a history on that? How'd you get started? When was the aha moment?
That's a great question. Well, this goes back to my years as a raw foodist, studying with David Wolfe,
Right.
working with David Wolfe, living in Ocean Beach in the raw house. So all my roommates were
is it called the raw house?
Yeah.
That's great.
And there was a group of us that were into doing some liver cleansing. And there's a guy named David Jubb. You know David Jubb.
I do know David, yeah.
So it was actually David Jubb's
Wow.
fault. He wrote a book called The Life Food Recipe Book. The Life Food, L-I-F-E, not live food, but life food.
Mm.
You know, and he's really a pioneer and one of the, you know, the great forefront leaders in raw food and the cleansing and stuff. And so a group of us got together to do that cleanse of his. And no sooner had we started it at the raw food house, but 48 hours later, he was doing a lecture at our house.
Oh.
So I was like, wow, this is really powerful. Like,
So wait a minute, he wasn't there, you didn't know him, you just had a book, you started
well,
to
I
sing,
mean, I
and
knew
all of a
him,
sudden
but I
he was
didn't
there.
know that 3 days later he'd be at our house doing a lecture. So we literally, we all start, prepping for the liver flush.
Mm-hmm.
And I said day 2, it was either day 2 or day 3, he shows up at our house to do a lecture. So I was like, wow.
How'd that
This
happen?
liver cleanse
How did
is
he
like
get there?
powerful work.
He just
Well, because
tapped
he's
in,
friends with
I
David
need to go to
Wolfe.
this address.
Yeah, pretty much. Spirit guided him. No, I mean, it was David Wolfe.
Okay.
There, because he's friends with David.
Right.
And then the next thing you know, we had a very impromptu potluck at our house.
Mm-hmm. How
And
fun.
there's David Jubb. Yeah. So it was very impactful. The first flush, you know, I felt amazingly different upon completion. It was like, wow, you look really good today after that. So there's a bit of instant gratification in it, like, and it's such powerful work for, like I say, all levels of our being. So even though it works kind of physically, it also kind of clears house emotionally, mentally, you know, gives more clarity, kind of literally and figuratively. You know, the liver's like, you know, and the eyes are deeply connected.
Mm-hmm. So
you
there's
know,
a clearing of the foggy eyes, the skin clears up.
all those things.
The brightness of the skin and just in general the being becomes brighter. Right?
And then you have more energy.
And just, oh wow.
And you can get more done.
Of course.
And more clarity and direction.
You can get more done. You didn't even have phones back then, but you
Exactly.
can get more done.
Well, it wasn't that long ago. I think we had phones.
When was
but
it?
it was,
when was it?
This was like in maybe like 2001.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, we definitely had phones, but it was like kind of on the curve.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, before social media. So you know, we got to get away with a lot more and not be recorded and like put up for the world to see. Right, but it was really impactful because like I knew about David Jubb because of the sweat lodges that he was doing, right? And so, and I think you did too. You used to go to those sweat lodges.
Yeah, I've been to quite a few of them.
I don't even remember if we went to one together or not, but
No.
okay, we didn't, but I started going after. I did.
They were out by Temecula.
Yeah, Hamul.
That's right, Hamul.
Out on the 94 East.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so
fun.
I learned a lot from David Jubb. You know, he was like impeccable with languaging, you know, the way that he spoke was very important. You know, and he even taught me about urine therapy and, you know, I felt like he was kind of like a breatharian because, you know, whenever you'd be around him, you would not be eating, you know.
That's right, because the book Survival into the 21st Century was out.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Victoris Kolvinskas.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Excellent book, by the way.
Yeah, totally.
Oh my Lord, I remember when first came out, I was just enamored.
And it's still so relevant.
So
actually.
relevant.
It's still so relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that first liver cleanse really kind of was like, wow, there's magic. There's something happening behind the scenes as well as very obvious. And then it just kind of led me to be inspired to want to do more. And then fast forward to, doing these retreats at Eden Hot Springs with David Wolfe.
Okay.
And we would do fasting retreats, and one time we had like almost 100 people that were fasting. Yeah, I mean, not water fasting, but like vegetable juices, and we're soaking in hot springs, and I was a colon hydrotherapist, so I'm doing colonics on people. And about 25 people on the side were doing their own liver cleanse. And they were doing colonics with me, so you literally could see the stones and stuff move out of them. And
you'd ask them, what are you doing? What's going on?
No, well, I mean, I knew what they were doing, like,
okay.
you know. And one of the guys, like, carried around his jar of stones that actually came out. And, you know, he'd go up to people and, you know, just show them to see if they would, you know, and you kind of look and you're like, is that edible? No, that's not edible. What is that?
Oh.
Yeah, so it was like the raw food, like hot spring retreat days that really got me into more fasting and then the liver cleansing. And as a colon hydrotherapist, it was very, it was just very impactful. And then it seemed
moved you.
Yeah, well, I feel like I'm on this truth. I'm a truth seeker. I'm a truth seeker on my path of like movement, growth, and change. And I get inspired to do things, you know, and somehow I was given a download of how to do this liver cleansing, you know, during the like 5 years that I lived in Victoria, you know, with a chiropractor who also studied with David Jubb.
Connect the dots for us. So
I mean,
how did you jump up there from down here?
Good question. Well, it was the liver flood. It was the liver cleansing retreat. Actually,
it brought you up there.
Brought me up there.
Okay.
So the retreats with David Wolfe, the liver cleansing retreats. I think you were going to go on one of them with me.
I remember this years ago. I do remember this.
Yeah. Well, I ended up moving to Canada kind of soon after that with this liver cleansing expert chiropractor, and then we spent 5 years together, like doing workshops and retreats all around liver cleansing. All over the world, you know, once or twice a month for 5 years straight. So I feel like I got a really big download.
Wow.
You know, we wrote a little booklet together on how to do it and stuff like that. But I feel like the work, that is even more, now it's even more important than ever to do this kind of cleanse for oneself.
Absolutely.
And nobody can do it but you know, like I could explain.
You can't hire anybody.
Not really, no.
To represent you.
Yeah, you got to do it yourself. Somebody could give you the tips, you know, of how to, but, you know, at the end of the day, we got to do it ourselves. And it's really an upgrade on all levels of the being. And it's like...
Relative word, upgrade.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. And then in like, what's going to come up for you? Well, I don't know. It's like, your life story and whatever is you're ready to let go of is what may move or not, you know. And like I said, I feel like we're living in a time now where this work is more important than ever. Because the word liver means to live, kind of determines the length of our life. You know, if the liver's done, we're kind of done, man.
I've heard the Native American Indians considered the liver to be the heart of the body, the most important organ of the body, really. You know, they're all important, obviously, except for the appendix. Nobody knows what to do with that. But
take it out.
The liver, you know.
Yeah, well, it is kind of, it's also like the chief in charge running the internal organ show. But I also look at it that the organs all have a very symbiotic relationship where they all kind of, all of their work influences the other.
Sure, of course, absolutely.
You know, I've also heard that the liver is more like the father and the heart is more like the mother.
Oh.
And, you know, but there's many ways to look at it. But one thing I know for sure is the liver has a lot of jobs and responsibilities.
Absolutely.
You know, some are taught that the liver has over 1,000 functions, and whether it's even only 50 or 100, that's a lot. And it is the main filter. It's going to help us filter not only our emotional stuff, but certainly the physical stuff. And if we're overloaded with toxins or heavy metals or viruses or whatever it is, the liver's what has to deal with that. And if the liver's not doing very well, then that's going to reflect throughout the whole system. So, the good thing is the liver is a highly regenerative organ. It responds really well to self-care.
Mm-hmm.
It loves to do its work.
Right.
It's just overloaded. I liken it to a kitchen sponge. Imagine when you're born, you get one kitchen sponge. You get one.
Right.
To use your whole life.
Carry it with you your whole life.
Yep. And this thing has never been wrung out.
Right.
And it still has 10 days worth of dishes to do. Like, it would love to do it, but it's like...
Boy, we could take this really far.
Well, yeah, and all it needs is to be like squeezed out a little bit, so then it can do, its work more effectively. So that's really what a liver cleanse and a liver flush is kind of like. It's like giving that organ some love and care.
Giving it a break.
Giving it a break, and then allowing it to do its work more effectively.
So a liver cleanse, they can take place over different periods of time. 6 months, 3 months, 30 days, 2 weeks, 3 days. It just...
Yes to all of the above.
Right.
But really, you can get a lot of good work done in a week. I like to do a week to 10 days. If you're going to say 6 months, then it's like, well, how many liver flushes do you want to do in that 6-month window? 1 a month, right? If you're doing 30 days, I might even do like a couple flushes in that time. So there's a cleanse and then there's the flush. So the whole thing...
2 parts.
Yeah, and the flush is kind of the completion of the cleanse, where you drink olive oil to make your liver squeeze and purge. The cleansing part is to give the liver the support it needs. Like, okay, so if we have something like liver stones or gallstones, what are those really? It's hardened, calcified matter that the liver wasn't able to expel. And then more of that stuff comes in, and then these like hardened pieces become bigger and bigger. And then we have all these bile ducts. Those are the pathways that lead out of the liver, and unfortunately they are narrow, some of these pathways, and sometimes they can be more narrow than, say, the stone, the debris that's in the liver or gallbladder. Exactly. So you want to do something to kind of soften, break down, and dissolve that debris that's built up in the liver gallbladder, soften it up so that it can pass through more easily and with no trouble. And so that's really what you're doing in the cleansing portion. You're taking liver supportive herbs, bitters, that help to break down and dissolve that hardened material. You don't need as much, and you certainly stay away from things that are not friendly for the liver, and that would be anything that's like fried or over processed or, alcohol, those kind of things. Things that, things that just don't have any nutritional value. It's also good not to eat a lot that has trouble moving through, so I would even... At that time.
Cleanse.
Yep, just keep it as...
Common sense.
Yeah,
really.
as simple as possible.
Right.
Take the burden off of the digestive system so it can just focus on cleansing.
So it's not really a burden on the liver to be doing the cleanse.
No.
The liver loves it.
It absolutely, yeah. As a matter of fact,
welcomes it.
Yes.
Hugs it.
Loves it more than
wants it regularly.
Just eating bad stuff.
Right.
That's what makes the liver work hard.
Right.
So no, it's actually quite a simple formula. It's not complicated. It's like, just make everything simple. Just simplify things. Fasting is actually, quite beneficial.
Absolutely. It's huge right now.
Yeah.
I was raised with fasting. My father was friends with Paul Bragg. I remember my mother screaming one time, us kids gathered by her bedroom door, what's going on, Mom? And she was on a liver fast and passing the stones. She showed us the stones when
That's
she was done.
awesome.
It was, wow, we couldn't even believe it.
That's
They were
wild.
so into survival into the 21st century, all, Arnold Ehret.
Yep.
All those incredible people completely. I remember going to Death Valley with my father. That's where we took our vacations. It was in Death Valley, too fast. Yeah.
Well, see, it's in your blood, it's in your cells, it's in your DNA.
It was just so natural for what we did when I was a kid. And it's so interesting being full circle and just seeing it so vibrant now. Big.
I feel that fasting can add years to your life.
Absolutely.
Really. In 3 days, we're making our own stem cells. In 3 days from fasting, you're making your own stem cells. In the Essenes, it makes me want to talk about the Essenes. You know about the Essenes, right?
Barely.
Okay, well, so they're from an area called Qumran. There are some caves that apparently these ancient scrolls were discovered. And so there's like the Essene Gospel of Peace, and some say that Jesus was an Essene. And the Essenes believe that you fast 1 day for every year of your life. So I don't know if it's appropriate to say, but it's your birthday. And so now in the next year.
It is my birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday. So now you get to fast, how many? Is it 46 days this coming year? 46 days this coming year.
Okay, we could call it 46. So step away from the coffee.
Yeah, I could talk coffee enemas, but
exactly. Can we tie those in?
Of course we can. Those are actually really supportive with the liver, actually, quite honestly. Coffee done enema style helps the liver to detox like by 600 or 1,000%. The liver actually loves coffee enema style. But I do like to skip drinking coffee when I'm doing a liver flush. Because I like to see that coffee doesn't control me. I can drink it if I want, but I can also stop it whenever I want.
So it's just stepping away from substances that you feel have control over you.
Yeah.
You don't have control over.
Right. And we know doing that changes things. We know that.
Psychologically.
Absolutely. In every way. If you want to change a habit,
body.
just stop what you're doing for a second.
Right.
Change it up. The mind doesn't love that for a couple days. It misses that morning coffee or the morning piece of toast or whatever it is. But then it kind of starts to like it. And it doesn't take a long time, right? There's been people that have done liver flushing and they're like, what do you mean I can't eat meat during the prep? I eat meat 3 times a day. And then they do one liver flush, and then the next thing you know, 3 months later, they're like, oh yeah, I haven't even had meat since that liver flush 3 months ago.
Have you ever had anybody that wants to go on a liver cleanse and just eat liver? A lot of weird things happen.
Well, I haven't done that kind of liver cleanse yet. Maybe the cat really likes to eat a lot of liver.
Yay.
No, but
we just had to demystify that one little
thing.
Thread.
Yeah, no, this is not about eating liver.
Excellent.
Yeah.
What are some of the modalities that go along with the liver cleanse? Deep sauna work, water work.
Great question.
Hiking, nature, fresh air.
Yeah, all of the above.
All of the above.
I love
good people, positive vibes,
positive
singing,
language, all of these things, every single thing that you mentioned, so thank you. I like to maybe not do as physically exerting practices as, especially maybe for the last couple of days, like when you're really getting into a deep part of the cleanse. But I love the sauna, hot springs, cold plunging, definitely meditation,
right.
Positive thoughts. One of the things that I love to incorporate during that time of cleansing is to be as loving and gentle to self as possible through words, through thoughts, through positive affirmations, incantations, intentions, whatever it is. So that reminds me that I love to bring in the 4 agreements. You know about the 4 agreements?
Sure, of course.
Right there, it's pretty simple. So when I'm doing a liver cleanse, to me, it's a moving prayer. It's a moving practice in self-care. It's like a self-retreat for any number of days where I am as loving to self as possible. Thinking loving thoughts to self, especially the liver, you know, when perhaps you're doing a castor oil pack on the liver and sending the liver love. Like the liver is working for us 24/7. And how often are we just like quietly contemplating how much we love our liver? Like, and if you don't love your liver, who's going to? So the 4 agreements, right? Being impeccable with our word, right? Those kind thoughts that we're having in our head, the kind words that we're speaking, you know, and then doing our best. With cleansing, things can come up, and we just do our best with it. And don't take things personal, right? I mean, that's always a really good practice, is not taking things personally, and then not making things up. Not making any assumptions.
Right, which is actually quite difficult for everybody. It's really easy to say that.
Yeah.
Right, it's really easy to say that, but how do you do that?
Right.
You know, what is the practice that helps you move through all of that?
Well, when you're having a moment, when you're not happy and in a good state, if you look at all those 4 agreements, there's one of them that you're not honoring.
Right, so it becomes reading, journaling.
Yep. Deep breathing. How do we really change our mental state? Take a deep breath.
So we're applying it somatically, empirically.
And what is your practice like? Do you need to go like wash your hands when you get agitated? Like, you know, I think we have to give ourselves like a thing that we do in that moment.
Right. So you need to tap into, or one would want to tap into your repetitive patterning and change it, shift it according to the new life that's being brought to the liver.
Right.
Because it is a liver-mind-body connection.
Yeah.
It's all intimately tied together. Absolutely. As many acupuncturists, I mean, this has been taught for thousands of years.
Yeah. I mean, it is true. It's just perhaps not, have you had much of a tangible experience of that in your body? Like, not only do you believe it, but have you had that kind of experience? And I feel that I've gotten to a place just that it's kind of part of my belief system. You know, I'm willing for it not to be true, and I feel like I've had the experience that, you know, all levels of our being, it's simultaneous. Like even the stuff that's stuck like in the liver, they talk about the liver holding things like lower vibrational energies and emotion, be it anger, resentment, you know, jealousy, those kind of things, you know. But I feel like the liver is also, in the tissue of the body, holds emotion that hasn't been expressed, but potentially our whole life. You know, so if we embark on something like a cleanse, a liver cleanse, those kind of things can be released. And it's not like we have to remember all of them, but being open to letting go of things that no longer serve. So that might become part of my prayer during this week of liver cleansing, that may this cleanse help me to let go of all of those things that no longer serve me.
So part of the practice is really taking a deep dive into feeling the body deeply and its relationship to your patterning. So reflecting back upon your patterning, your life, the things that you've chosen to do, and then interrelating that to the sensations of the body, going into something that shifts those all of that to a greater or higher vibration, and feeling it deeply,
right, and
purging it, renewing it. So there's a lot of dance, movement that takes place, free dance,
absolutely,
exploratory dancing, maybe chanting or singing, all these.
Thanks for bringing that up again. And the reason that that's so important is the vagus nerve.
Right.
So chanting and singing is going to stimulate the vagus nerve,
parasympathetic.
And helps us to move into a parasympathetic state. But when the vagus nerve is like blocked or shut down, that person is not experiencing a high level of wellness. So yeah, that is a very, and that's something that can help to change an emotional state pretty quickly, right?
Right.
Chanting, singing.
Sure. So basically, really taking a deep dive into learning the language of the breath and breathing.
Absolutely.
How is this?
Yeah.
What is the language of the breath? How can I listen to the language in such a way that I can hear it and understand it and comprehend?
Right. So you see, in order to like offer this to a group, so say you and I were going to like do this and take a group through it, see all the different aspects that are amazing to bring in, right? Journaling, but lead breath work, because maybe not everybody has the knowledge, wisdom, experience to know how to just do their own breath work for a week.
Sure, guidance is always necessary. But I mean, you've been doing this for years, 15 years or so, correct?
Oh yeah,
And
definitely.
You really just launched this whole liver cleansing with the Sophia Health Institute in
Woodinville,
Seattle?
Washington. Yeah, Woodinville, Washington, just outside of Seattle.
You were the person that brought this there and facilitated and for how long?
Well, I've been there for a decade. Yeah, and I'm still doing it. So I've been there for a decade under the direction of Dr. Dietrich Klinghardt, who's a German MD, who, and we have a team of naturopaths at the clinic where we treat Lyme disease, autism, and many other things. Nowadays, a lot of vaccine injury. And he's brilliant. And he's really realized that all of the patients need to do a liver cleanse. And if we don't take them through that, at some point, the medicine might not work as effectively. And we do a lot of herbs, tinctures, things from nature. And we find that if we get people to do these liver cleanses as well, that they have a greater chance of getting better. They do better with the protocols that we put people on. And so, yeah, I've had the privilege of guiding like hundreds of people now in the last 5 or 6 years through online programs that we've created. And people are always looking for more. And it's, I love doing it in a group where it's live, like when we're all in person.
Sure, absolutely.
But, what happened over the past 5 years, with COVID kind of shutting the world down, we found that we could create a very powerful online community where we tuned in together live every day for like a period of 10 days and did this liver flush together. And it was super powerful. And, it's not like people are like, want to do a one and done, you want to do it again.
Right.
And then these same people would want to join us again, because they like this group dynamic and love feeling so much better after. Well, it is, and how wonderful when you can actually do something that's really good for you and have fun doing it.
Yeah, right.
And it does feel like an upgrade, like an up-leveling of all the levels of our being. And of course, the older we get or the longer we're here, why not have practices that can make us like healthier in our later years? Not only do I want to live a long time, but I want to live a long time in a healthy body.
Right, of course.
In a sound mind, right? So I'm really willing on this truth-seeking path that I'm on to keep exploring and keep doing the things that are not only going to help me thrive physically, but then I love being of service to others and whatever little silly gifts and talents I happen to have. And right now it's in my passion, right? It's cleansing. And I think that the passion that I have comes across well. It's not like I'm like, oh, this is such a drag and like we need to do it. And I know how, but you're gonna hate it the whole time.
There must be some that come with that.
They do, of course. But again, it's like our mind, right? The mind just doesn't. It's like I don't want to give up my coffee. I don't want to give up my morning toast, right? It likes its routine, its habits, and then once we change it,
there's an awakening.
Yeah, and we don't miss it anymore. And then you turn back and you're like, it's been 10 days and I haven't even had coffee. So, when are we going to do a liver cleanse together?
You know, I was just in Mallorca, and I specifically went to Mallorca, Spain to look at retreats, and I had no idea what for.
And now you know?
I just went there and I don't want to look for retreat areas, you know, just because it sounds like such a wonderful place. And it's absolutely incredible. I would go back there in a heartbeat.
So did you find a place to do a retreat?
Several places. Not any one in particular that I said, this is the place, but I ran across quite a few beautiful places. It's a lot larger than you would think. There's a lot of different areas to go and to be. So I'll be going back next year just to look around, surf, play in the water. You know how I am with the water.
Yeah, so. Awesome. Well, scout out I'm sure they have really good olive oil there.
Sure they do.
So, and probably good lemons too.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
You don't need much more than that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, and through all the years that you've been doing the liver cleanses, have you seen ailments that have been cleared and moved out of the body, and psychological difficulties people have had that have been completely taken away, relationships with themselves and with other people that have been healed?
I would say yes. I've seen a lot of all those things. I've seen and, heard people that claim the liver cleansing has really helped them turn their health around.
It's just a key apexical moment, aha moment, where they just went, wow, I have the ability to change my health.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
A lot of people just don't get that.
Yeah, but I know quite a handful that would say yes, they experienced some kind of epiphany from this work and knew that was directly, why they've made an improvement in their health. Stories from, the person who literally didn't have enough energy to get through her working day when completing the cleanse was able to work more effectively, 3 to 5 hours a day more, like no problem. People that have had difficulty sleeping, improvement in their sleep. Somebody who was very sensitive to smell at work, like perfumes and stuff like that. The sensitivity to smell diminished. In other words, they were able to be more tolerant in a situation where they weren't before.
Lessened their ability to smell things. It just heightened their ability to not be overwhelmed by.
Correct. Yep.
Right?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing.
And then the thing like, I haven't been happy in this job, and I finished, and I knew it was time for me to end that.
Right.
And I moved on, and I did something else. People having realizations around events perhaps in their life, all kinds of stories. And I think that was really the beauty of those 5 years that I was really immersed in doing this, like a few times a month with multiple people and many people. In the beginning it was like, I just wanted to offer people a workshop so they knew how to do this cleanse. This chiropractor that I was working with would spend half the time in the appointment saying, you know what, your liver's really congested, you need to do a liver cleanse, and I'm going to tell you how to do it in 5 minutes or less. And I kind of convinced him, let's see, what if we took that out of your appointment time and made it a workshop and got all the people together and really gave them a good download of how to do this, and then they'd know what to do. And I figured,
just
people
made it a lot clearer for them to understand.
Yeah.
It's not so out of the blue.
Right.
Comprehensible.
Because it is. It's not that complicated. We make it complicated. And my idea was that, they will just have to go to one workshop and then they'll be good. They can do this. These people loved it so much, they wanted to keep coming back to the workshop and do it in a group.
Sure.
And, and then of course, when 2 or more gather together, what are we doing? It's kind of like a prayer to the universe. So like when 2 or more are gathering together, whether it's in a yoga class or whether it's a group doing a liver flush, everybody's results are exponentially greater, right? It's not just like 1 + 1 = 2. Right. And I don't like to digress, and I don't know if I was like answering a question or trying to draw a line somewhere with this part, but
you're doing great.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This is really exciting. I love this conversation. I think it's extremely beneficial to a lot of people, especially with somebody that's been doing it for so many years. You've had so much experience. And this is just really a sliver of your history of work that you've done. Really, I know you. I've known for a long time, so I know that this is just really a sliver of everything.
Yeah, yes, that's true.
But it's key.
It is kind of key. I still have a lot of passion around it. It did kind of come in this interesting way through my yoga teaching and, being on my truth seeking path and always wanting to kind of like learn more. And then now I look back and I feel like I've been able to hang out some with real amazing renegades in this body, in this lifetime, from yoga teachers, yourself included, and then powerful people on this, health movement. And, something about it has always been exciting to me. Right. And so you follow that excitement, and I know one of your questions was like, can you tie it back to childhood? So I've kind of reflected on that over the past few days and realized that, we always had a garden when I was growing up. If we had the space, that was really important to my mom. She always undercooked vegetables at a time where that wasn't cool,
For you or for the rest of the world, right?
Everybody
it just wasn't a thing to do.
I couldn't wait to go to somebody's house that they overcook the vegetables, man. I don't want my carrots crunchy. No. And even in the 70s, she used to teach a class called Slimnastics in a room in the house, our living room, that had no furniture, right? And she had like on the 70s, like leotard and tights and everything.
Your mother?
And, yes. And, and the ladies in the neighborhood would come over and like, she's doing Jane Fonda type, like Slimnastic stuff back in the 70s.
I love it.
And I thought that was really cool, right? And
little girl just watching your mom.
Yeah. And I was into gymnastics, so I kind of like, I always liked, moving, physically. And
I love that tie-in.
yeah, so I was like,
So
yeah,
positive.
kind of in a way, and we weren't really allowed to go have a lot of junk food in the house. And I went to one neighbor's house because they always had like, even though today is Halloween, but they always had Halloween candy in the freezer, like little bite-sized Snickers. And I loved going over there and stealing candy out of the freezer because we couldn't have it at our house.
Right.
So yeah, I feel like I was positively influenced when I was growing up with a bit of the health stuff. Maybe not like to your extent, like Paul Bragg and going out to Death Valley, but and then early on Rancho La Puerta, and
That's right. That's a very, spiritual place, obviously.
Yeah, and I was, teaching aerobics in Malibu at this time, and a lot of people from the studio used to go to Rancho La Puerta because we're in Malibu, right? And like Rancho La Puerta is over in Tecate, Mexico, so it's not that far. But people would go for their healthy week. And I think I was cocktail waitressing at a cool bar in Malibu, and then I was like teaching aerobics, and somebody that went to the ranch was like, this girl needs to get pulled out of Malibu and go put her in the, Mexican desert, and let her teach down there in a healthy environment.
Do you remember that moment?
I do.
Really?
I totally remember. Yeah. And I was like, oh
What
my
a
gosh,
story.
I could go down. I could live in Mexico at a spa resort and be a fitness instructor. How cool. Yeah, and that experience definitely changed my life. I think I was 25 when I went down there. And all we did all day was like lead hikes, teach classes, and you had to get really good on, then I moved into like stretch class and water aerobics and even really started.
Your pedagogy and skills were heightened, your cueing and different body types, the learning curve just
Yeah.
Tidal wave of information
Yes.
and learning took place.
And really good teachers coming in week after week after week,
So
offering us workshops and
professionals.
and teaching 6 classes a day. You know, they might have
Right.
only been 45 minutes long, but you were like, you know, it really polished up your teaching skills, and in a really healthy environment, because they had an organic garden, or still do. You know, it was mostly vegetarian. These amazing healthy meals were made for you 3 times a day, and also being extracted out of the matrix. You know, it's like I didn't have to drive to work. I had to show up at 6 o'clock to lead a mountain hike.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not driving anywhere for a week
Mm-hmm.
and just teaching class all day. It really, it changed me for life. You know, it really did.
Really.
And
Sunk a deep taproot in.
and the other connection there is the Essenes. You know, Rancho
I was
La
going to say, what a
Puerta
history.
was really founded by Edmund Bordeaux Zeke, who he's the one who translated these Essene, these Dead Sea Scrolls, right? And translated the Essene Gospel of Peace and all these things. And I remember listening to an Essene who was there on his like 30th day of a water fast, you know, collecting what was coming out of him in a strainer so he could examine it. I'm not kidding. And that's when I heard about the like, you know, you got to fast 1 day for every year of your life. And I like to say I'm fascinated with fasting. It's fascinating to me. Well, our friend David
I've never
Wolfe,
heard that. That's brilliant.
I made it up.
Did you?
I did. Well, I probably didn't.
Right.
Somebody else
All
did.
right, folks, you heard it right here.
So, but today is probably day 22 of our dear friend David Wolfe water fasting.
Okay.
He's in a scene, man. He's like, I got to get all my days in before the end of the year. Yeah. So he's one of these people, you know, and he does a cleanse, I think at the change of every season, you know, probably leads a big group. And I've done liver cleansing retreats with him.
We have to get him in on a podcast.
Totally. I think that would be
just
great.
mind-blowing?
Absolutely. You have to. Yes, we'll make it happen.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Let's go knock on his door.
Let's do it.
All right.
I think he's in Canada right now.
We
And
can do
his
that.
property in Canada is amazing.
Yeah, wonderful.
Best mushroom foraging of my life on his property in Canada. It was around this time of year. It was in October, just a little earlier. And I was there for like 5 days, and he's got like 200 acres. And he is an expert, and we would be like, hey, we want to find some chicken in the woods. Hey, look over there. There's some chicken in the woods. Which like,
This is dangerous.
it's classic.
Woo.
And you know what chicken in the woods tastes like when you grow
Well,
it
I
up?
heard.
Chicken. It's a mushroom that tastes like a chicken. There's a lobster mushroom that grows on the ground, and it's kind of a mushroom that eats another mushroom, and it's like red. And that actually is a little bit like lobster texture.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, and so, well, somehow I went from liver cleansing to mushroom foraging.
No,
but
yeah, of course.
well, David
Rancho La
Wolfe, he's on
Puerta.
day 22
Right
of
now.
like a water fast right now.
Mhm.
You know, and he would definitely be talking about how powerful it is
Mhm.
and how energized he is from that. He's probably cold plunging in his like lake on the property, and probably taking Epsom salt baths as his treat. Because he talks about treats, so we can tie this back into like, say you're doing a liver cleanse. What can you do to make it exciting? Well,
and also beneficial to the cleanse. Exciting.
of course, but something that's going to satisfy like my mind and maybe even my body. So I do like to make soups and smoothies, you know, from the healthiest ingredients ever, but that taste really good, you know. And
course.
I notice that the less that I eat, the better the taste of the thing that I am eating. Like it might be super simple, but it tastes like it's amazing. Because I'm not eating all this other stuff.
Right. And that's what changes too, your taste. You can taste the food.
Yep.
The depth,
Yep.
the fragrances shift.
Yeah. So it does require a level of discipline and willingness, right? I like to talk about that. So what are the ingredients that you need? Well, that's probably number 1 and 2, is what you need to show up is a level of willingness and being willing to be disciplined around a few things. for a period of days. Not necessarily committing to the rest of your life, but like, nope, I'm committing to this many days. I'm going to be as disciplined as possible around things we've already talked about. Like, I'm going to be in positive languaging mode. You know, I'm not going to be speaking negative thoughts quietly to myself or out loud. I'm going to fast from that.
Do you tie all this into the 4 agreements?
Yeah, absolutely.
So your interpretation of discipline is it, say, doing something that you don't want to do.
Yeah,
basically.
kind
you
of.
don't want to do it,
Yeah.
but you're going to do it
Right.
anyway. That's discipline.
Yeah, like, well, what would you say? You know, I guess if you were to ask me, what's difficult about a liver cleanse?
Staying true to the diet and the protocol.
Right.
The protocol.
But is that really that difficult?
In the beginning, for many, I'm sure
Yeah.
it was scary.
But what does it really
It's
require? One thing. Well, two
move,
things.
Move from fear into love.
There
Move
you
from
go.
Fear to love.
Yes. But that willingness and the discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just be willing. You made a choice. You're willing. And you're going to be disciplined. But not having that chocolate cake until, like, maybe you're done.
One
Like,
in the
just.
morning that you're hiding under your bed.
Right.
that you stuck in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's really it, you know. And then there's so much reward in that, right? After you've done that for a period of days, we can really be shifted back to that. All levels of our being is shifted.
I know it well, actually. I've been getting close to my 200th day of swimming in the ocean. I mean, it's getting up there. I don't know the exact numbers, but boy, what a shift.
That's very powerful.
Just what a shift. I didn't really even know why I was doing it, but now it's a little private, something I probably wouldn't bring here, but it's become quite clear why I started that. I didn't know, I just trusted that I needed to do that, which I bet a lot of people move into the liver cleanses just knowing that something needs to be done.
Yeah.
They need to do something.
Yes.
To shift everything.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people, I would think, don't have to hit that rock bottom area right there for it all to become so dark and closed in on them before they make that decision. A lot of people can see it coming and going, okay, I better take a shift. I better do something that's going to shift the energy before the tidal wave hits me.
Yeah.
And you move into all those elements that can move in on our psyche.
Yeah. That is the time to do it. You know, it's a little bit easier to do it than when you completely hit rock bottom.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's kind of like there's a calling. You know, people will have a calling.
Mm-hmm. And then the calling often just becomes clearer while you're in it.
Yes.
Maybe it just starts as a whisper.
Yeah.
For some, maybe it's just a loud voice, but for some it's a whisper, and then it becomes quite clear and punctuated.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Beautiful. What an awakening.
Yeah, yeah. So I highly recommend it. You know, there's a lot of good books out there on it.
Yeah, but there's nothing like really doing it with somebody that's done so many of them across, through the span of your life in so many ways. The depth of wisdom that's collected is unparalleled. It's really difficult to pull that out of a book. Really, really it is. So I know you have the online thing going, and there's all that seems to be predominant nowadays, but really to get back to doing it with a real group, in-person group is really the key. It's really key.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah. So that's coming. That's definitely coming. You know.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for spending time and explaining and opening up to everybody about what you've been doing. Appreciate you.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me here to talk about it.
Yeah.
Something that I'm so passionate about. And It's especially auspicious, being that it's your birthday today. That's really special and sweet. And thanks for taking the time out to talk about something so important on this day.
We actually have many subjects to cover. This is a good start.
It's a good start.
It's a good start.
Yeah. Well, to be continued.
To be continued.